The second industrial revolution's advancements in steel, chemicals, and electricity opened up new possibilities in production and transportation, while improvements in railroads, steamships, and telegraph significantly influenced internal and external migration during the 19th century. These technological innovations not only transformed industries but also reshaped societies by enabling greater mobility and connectivity. The period was marked by rapid industrialization, urbanization, and globalization, laying the foundation for the modern world. The Second Industrial Revolution, which occurred from the late 19th to the early 20th centuries, was characterized by a series of groundbreaking technological and industrial innovations that fundamentally transformed society. One of the most significant advancements was in the steel industry. The introduction of the Bessemer process and the open hearth furnace allowed for the mass production of steel, which was stronger and more cost-effective than iron. This revolutionized construction and manufacturing, enabling the building of railroads, bridges, and skyscrapers, and providing the machinery needed for other industries to flourish. The widespread availability of steel was a cornerstone of urbanization as cities expanded both vertically and horizontally. In the chemical industry, the development of synthetic dyes, fertilizers, and explosives had far-reaching implications. Synthetic dyes revolutionized the textile industry by providing a wide range of vibrant colors that were previously unavailable. Fertilizers enhanced agricultural productivity, supporting a growing population and reducing the risk of famine. Explosives, meanwhile, were used in the mining and construction, facilitating the extraction of resources and the building of infrastructure. These chemical innovations not only boosted industrial production, but also had significant and economic impacts. Electricity emerged as a transformative force during this period. The invention of the electric generator and the development of power grids allowed factories to operate more efficiently and for longer hours. Electric lighting improved safety and productivity in both homes and workplaces. The advent of electric appliances such as the electric motor further mechanized production processes and improved daily life. The widespread adoption of electricity marked a shift towards modernity, influencing nearly every aspect of life and industry. During the 19th century, advancements in transportation and communication had a profound impact on immigration patterns. The expansion of railroads was perhaps the most significant development. Railroads connected remote areas to urban centers, making it easier for people to move in search of better opportunities. This facilitated internal migration as rural populations flocked to cities to work in factories and other industrial jobs. Railroads also played a crucial role in the settlement of new territories, particularly in the United States, where the Transcontinental Railroad opened up the western frontier to settlers. Steamships revolutionized international travel and trade. These vessels were faster and more reliable than sailing ships, reducing the time and cost of crossing oceans. This encouraged external migration as people from Europe and Asia moved to the Americas and other regions in search of economic opportunities and better living conditions. Steamships also faced global trade, allowing countries to export and import goods more efficiently, which spurred economic growth and development. The telegraph, a groundbreaking communication technology, enabled instant transmission of information over long distances. This was crucial for coordinating transportation networks, business operations, and even personal communication. The ability to send messages quickly and reliably helped businesses operate more efficiently and allowed people to stay connected with family and friends across great distances. The telegraph also played a vital role in news dissemination, providing timely information about events and conditions in different regions, which influenced migration decisions.
The spread of industrialization in the United States took place in one of the Western world's most exuberant democracies, while Russia's took place in the last outpost of absolute monarchy, in which the state exercised far greater control over individuals and society than anywhere in the Western world. In the United States, social and economic change bubbled up from society as free farmers, workers, and businessmen sought new opportunities and operated in a political system that gave them varying degrees of expression. While in autocratic Russia, change was far more often initiated by the state itself, hence contributing efforts to catch up with the more powerful and innovative states of Europe. In the United States, working class among factory laborers did not develop as quickly and did not become as radical, in part because workers were treated better and had more outlets for grievances in the United States than in Russia. Unlike industrialization in the United States, Russian industrialization was associated with a violent social revolution through which a socialist political party, inspired by the teachings of Karl Marx, was able to seize power. Both the United States and Russia saw significant government involvement in driving industrialization, focusing on heavy industries like steel production, railroads, and mining, with a strong emphasis on utilizing new technologies like electricity to fuel rapid economic growth, often accompanied by poor working conditions for laborers. During the 19th century, Latin America's industrialization was largely limited to the development of export-oriented primary industries, primarily focused on producing raw materials like minerals and agricultural goods from European markets, rather than substantial domestic manufacturing due to factors like limited infrastructure, foreign investment dominance, and a reliance on cheap European imports. Some countries like Argentina, Brazil, and Chile saw modest growth in basic manufacturing sectors like textiles, often fueled by foreign capital and infrastructure developments like railroads.
During the Industrial Revolution, capitalism became known as the main economic system of Western Europe. Capitalism is where businesses and industries are privately owned and people compete to make profits. While capitalism did lead to major economic growth, it also created significant problems. The rich, which in this case were factory owners, became richer, and workers were paid very little wages. This sparked outrage that began to form socialism. Socialists believed that wealth and resources should be shared more equally and fairly amongst the people, and that industry should not be controlled by a small group of the rich. Specifically, socialists had complained that capitalism had exploited its workers, and that workers worked for long, grueling hours with low wages, while business owners made huge profits. They also complained that workers lived in poor conditions. Many workers lived in overcrowded cities with poor access to education or healthcare, and many times these cities were struck with epidemics like tuberculosis, measles, or smallpox. Karl Marx had argued that capitalism was unfair and unsustainable and would eventually be replaced. He believed workers one day would overthrow the rich and a classless society would emerge. In this classless society, there would be no such thing as rich and poor, and everybody would share money equally. In the 19th century, factories grew even more and workers began to organize labor movements. These labor movements were aimed to fight for better conditions as they faced a variety of problems such as child labor, a lack of workers' rights such as laws protecting them from abuse or unfair treatment, and they also faced problems like long hours. The average workday was 12 to 16 hours with very few or no breaks. Workers wanted shorter work hours, with the goal being an 8-hour workday, higher wages, safer conditions, and the right to form unions without the fear of being fired. They fought for these rights with a series of strikes, boycotts, and protests. In Asia, countries had witnessed how European countries had become more powerful through industrialization. Asian empires like the Ottomans and King China attempted to keep up. The Ottoman Empire responded with a series of reforms aiming to modernize their military, economy, and a variety of their laws. They built factories and industries, but ultimately lacked the money to pay for these expenses and the technology and resources to keep up with Europe. Some leaders and religious groups were resistant to change, fearing it would weaken their power and tradition. In King China, they implemented a series of the 100-day reforms in 1898. This aimed for rapid modernization but was shut down by traditionalists. They also sought to modernize their military while keeping a traditional culture, and they did implement modern shipyards and a variety of factories, but they were not enough to keep up with Western powers. Ultimately, the Ottomans and King China resisted or struggled to modernize and industrialize, thus they fell behind Europe and gradually lost power over time.